1930s, they didn't want to confront a strong man that was building his strength in Europe. But there was one person by the name of Winston Churchill who said, I know that that man, Mr. Hitler, is not making those tanks for parades. He has a goal in mind, and we should stand up to him. And they said, Winston, we just came through a war. You're a warmonger. You're a troublemaker. In a parliamentary system, unlike ours. In a parliamentary system, when you get together, the first thing you do is, after an election, is take the leaders, the majority party that won. They choose a leader. That's called the Prime Minister. And after the Prime Minister, they choose the subsidiary ministers, Foreign Minister, Defense Minister, Finance Minister, etc. During the 1930s, there were 4 governments. The first vote in each of those was not to choose who should be Prime Minister. The first vote was an agreement among the winners that they would not permit Winston Churchill any place in the cabinet. Because the little worms know that no matter how far down the table he sat, his leadership capacity would overwhelm and shadow them all. And so the first thing they did was make sure that he was not a part of leadership, and they then made their governments. Winston, big shutout leader, went down to Chartwell, sat on his little easel, painted. They said that within 36 inches of that easel was more power than all the houses of Westminster, because everybody knew that he understands what's happening while those folks in power simply don't. And indeed, what he predicted took place. First, 1938, when Hitler went into Austria, then he went into part of Czechoslovakia. The Prime Minister of Britain, the leader of the free world, was concerned. So he met with Hitler down in Munich. Hitler said, you folks don't need to be concerned. He said, I'm not going to take any more countries. And so Neville Chamberlain, being a good lawyer, reached in his pocket and said, may I have that in writing? And Ribbentrop, the foreign minister for Hitler, writes in his memoirs, he said that Hitler literally leapt for his pen. He thought, if this idiot thinks that by writing it down to make it any more effective, I'll be glad to do that. And he then, Neville Chamberlain, got back on an airplane, the first flight he'd ever taken. He landed at Heston Field. It's in every history book that you've ever read. A picture of him standing beside his airplane, holding the piece of paper, saying, I have the Fuhrer's signature in my hand. It is peace in our time. And indeed, the entire world rejoiced. The headlines of every newspaper, peace in our time. Peace in our time. As he drove to Parliament, the streets were lined with cheering throngs. He goes in to address the Parliament. They turned to Winston Churchill and said, see, look, they were right, you're a troublemaker. See, he's brought peace. Winston Churchill said, the Prime Minister faced a very difficult choice, whether to choose war or shame. And he has chosen both. Indeed, September 1st, midnight,